realize what kind of weird sort of butterfly effect you just had to go through in order to pick your pick? The feather has to come off the bird and land on the giraffe's nose. To sneeze and spook the elephant, to stumble into a phone booth and call Matt Rule, to take away calling plays from Marcus Satterfield.
All right. Oh, my God.
By the way, I think we just found our intro.
45, 40, 45, 40. He's gonna go. It's time, people. Feel it.
Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. If we die, we die.
Man is putting a child in that. Put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
Well, that was a sad crack.
It was meant to be a sad crack.
Have you ever seen a sad crack?
I don't know what that means.
You said
I'm scared to get this answer now. I'm scared, Jed. What is a sad crack?
I don't know. I've never seen one.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm always happy when I see it.
He's happy when he sees a crack.
It's an audible thing. It's not a visual thing. Okay.
All right. Yeah. And exactly how that just started our show is about as well as the Nebraska-Indiana game went.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah,
it was
really bad.
We're taking a shot, but it's more of a shot of like a funeral shot than anything else.
So my shot is kind of for a funeral for the game, but it's also celebratory for myself because I haven't had Jaeger in like 5 days.
Oh, Jesus.
So
It's a long
So what happens
time.
when you leave the country, brother?
I've had
It's
a
a long
lot
time
of
if you listen to that.
vodka and tequila and stuff like that.
Oh, poor you.
You heard
Yeah,
it.
I
Now
know.
he can drink vodka and tequila.
I don't
Well,
want to.
I
had to do
think he
it
has to
because
be in Mexico to do it.
I had to do it because they don't have Jaeger there. So
Yeah.
They don't got the good stuff.
they got the. Oh,
So-
Well, cheers.
thank you.
Cheers to that, brother. Cheers.
Yeah.
Welcome back stateside. You didn't miss much while you were gone. That's for fucking sure.
I saw the game, but
Which is
Now,
why
when did you stop watching? That's my question.
I don't stop watching.
You
the
didn't
game.
stop watching? I had
No,
to shut off the fourth quarter.
no.
I couldn't do it anymore.
I can't. I just it's like saying you left a game early. I can't do that either.
I get that.
Yeah. No, I was sitting out of my grandma's, and everybody else in the room had gone to do stuff, and I was just sitting there basking in the awfulness that it was.
God.
Now the people around me kind of like had other ideas. I mean, they were just whatever, and I'm just still standing there like this.
Mm-hmm.
This sucks.
Yep.
Oh, they scored again.
Yeah, they couldn't stop scoring.
That's why we're all in black tonight.
It was bad.
It looks like we just got back from a funeral.
Yeah. But we're not going to dwell on that too much. We've got other stuff to get on to. We're excited to get on to Ohio State, but let's roll through the questions fast.
Yeah, as fast as humanly possible. Who will have more passing yards, Rourke or Raiola? I think this kind of helped that Rourke didn't play the second half.
Yeah.
But Raiola won this one, 234 to 189. Matt, you were the only one to take Rourke, which, again, you would have been right if the game would have continued, or if he would have
Well, if he
continued.
wouldn't have hurt his hand.
He hadn't
Exactly.
broke his thumb or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Question number 2, who will have more rushing yards, Nebraska or Indiana? Yikes.
Yeah.
Nebraska had 70, Indiana had 215. Everybody took Nebraska on that one. Who will have a better completion percentage, Rourke or Raiola? Even though Rourke rarely played, he had a lot better. 63.6% for Raiola, 80.9% for Rourke.
Well, he only missed, one pass in the first half? And it was a drop by a
one or
tight
two,
end.
yeah.
It was, yeah, you're right. I think it was 18 for 20 in the first
Something
half.
like that, yeah.
And it was one of them was a drop by a tight end that was an easy completion and probably would have led to a touchdown.
Yeah, he was on the money in that first half.
Yeah.
He was throwing pretty balls.
I was the only one to take Rourke on that one. What will be more, offensive first quarter points or Nebraska tackles for loss for the entire game or a push? Obviously, Nebraska didn't score anything.
This is the one where you and I took the tackles for loss, and Jed was like, well, just to go opposite.
Well, it was also, I didn't think that I thought we could score a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I didn't think we'd get to 7.
I did
So-
not. I have to just say it out loud. I apologize. There was a shit ton of Indiana fans that came at our show after the game, which is so strange.
Well,
Didn't
that's,
say
that's
anything
what
ahead
you
of
do
time.
after you
Yeah.
kick somebody's ass.
You rub it in
Fair.
their face.
Like, You're not going to do it ahead of time.
I just think
in
it's weird
case.
to go on a preview show and talk shit like on a Tuesday after the game.
Yeah.
It's just strange. But, I would think they have something better to do, but I have to remember they're in Indiana.
Yeah.
Regardless, all respect to Indiana. You have been wildly overlooked, at least by the Nebraska people.
Not by me.
At least by these Nebraska people.
Yeah.
You two, maybe you two. I didn't. I thought they were a really good team. I didn't understand the whole they haven't played anybody argument because who has Nebraska played?
Yeah, but
I
that
didn't
doesn't
get
mean
all
that
that.
they've played somebody.
Just
Just because Nebraska hasn't played somebody doesn't mean they haven't.
That's not
played
what I'm
somebody.
saying. It's not a black or white thing.
I get it.
It's a little bit of both as far as
It was a black and blue thing when they got done with this.
no shit.
The crazy thing to me is now I look at it makes me look back and think about all the other games that we're going to play, and it makes me way more scared about the UCLA game because you look at UCLA's schedule. They've actually played like nothing but hard teams.
This isn't a UCLA pregame show, so we'll talk about that some other time.
Can you tell that I just don't want to talk about this coming
it's
game
fine.
either?
It's fine. Ohio State, we're coming for you.
Anyway, obviously
Pussies.
the tackles for loss was more. Matt and BJ, you both had tackles for loss. Does Nebraska allow a rushing touchdown? I don't really think we need to answer this question.
Yeah. How many did they allow? Several.
And
Yeah.
they just pushed it in.
Yeah, BJ and myself both said yes. Who will have more quarterback pressures? That's sacks, hits, and hurries. Mikhail Kamara for Indiana or James Williams for Nebraska. Kamara had 5 total pressures. Williams had 3. BJ, you were the only one to take Kamara. I kind of wanted to take Kamara, but because it was James Williams, I had to take James
You
Williams.
had to.
And I honestly just thought our defense was going to play better than they did.
Yeah. The last question:
So did literally everyone in the entire world.
Who has more receiving yards? Elijah Surratt from Indiana or Isaiah Nayor for Nebraska? Nayor had 2 catches for 13 yards. Surratt had 3 catches for 65 yards. I was the only dumb one that took Nayor. The records for this week: BJ, you went 5-2. Matt, you went 2-5. I went 3-4, and the fans went 2-5. So
Nice job, BJ.
BJ had a good
Strange
week.
week.
You picked
Strange
real well
week.
on an awful fucking game.
Strange week, and God damn, it was rough. It was rough to watch. It was a rough thing for me. I was extremely frustrated. I have been almost a Satterfield defender up until this game. Last game, I was a little starting to question some things, and then this past game, I was texting you guys. I'm like, what the fuck? The biggest thing for me about that game is if you're not going to call plays as if you have confidence in the players that you have on the field, they're not going to have confidence in themselves.
Yep.
And that is the biggest thing that I saw was he did not, from the first snap of the game, didn't look like he had confidence in anybody on his offense.
Didn't look like he wanted to at all move the ball downfield. Everything was behind the line. Swing pass, swing pass, swing pass.
It was so reminiscent of the
damn.
Scott Frost era where we sat. It was before Matt was even on the show.
Mhm.
I'll never forget. It was the first season I was on, and we sat and we were yelling at each other across the desk. We weren't even on camera yet. We were yelling at each other across the desk, talking about how Scott Frost throws everything behind the line of scrimmage, and everything he does takes 5 days to get started. That is what this turned into this past weekend, and it was extraordinarily frustrating to watch.
Especially when we know that we have so much talent in our receivers, and we're just not finding them. What's going on here?
The biggest thing about the receivers, though, for me is this: if they're not going to play the way they are supposed to play, get them the fuck off the field.
There are several good
There's
options behind
nobody blocking on the perimeter. Nobody. Alex Bullock got out there, and he was like our blocking superstar last year, and I watched him blow a massive one that caused a tackle for loss. And it's like he was just like, meh, cool, we're down 28-7. I get it, but come on, man, throw the fucking block.
Down
the other-
28-7 when we could have been just down 21-7.
Yeah, and the other side of that for me is it's happened, and it's continuing to get more and more each game. Seeing receivers not selling routes, especially on trick plays, things like that. A receiver has to run their full route. If they know they're not option A, B, or C, it doesn't matter. Run your whole fucking route.
Yeah, it almost seemed like they all started to regress mentally a little bit this last week, and I don't know if it was something through the bye week or what it was. It's either we're not preaching enough mental fortitude, or we're focused on it way too much, to where they're focused on it too much too. They just weren't there to play.
So I agree with all of that, and I think I'm going to kind of build towards the bulk of what we're going to talk about. I just didn't understand the game plan whatsoever.
On either side of the ball.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about offensively. Forget the, just the swing pass, swing pass, swing pass, swing pass. You've got a situation where you're playing against Indiana with the receivers that you have, the height that you have, the size differential that you have, where they had one guy that's 6'2" and everybody else is 5'10" and below.
Massive size difference.
I'm not trying to say everything is just a jump ball and we'll get everything, because that's obviously not the way you play football. And I'm not saying throw the ball down.
You can do it every once in a while.
That's kind of where I'm going.
You have to try.
I'm not saying throw the ball 40 yards downfield every fucking play.
Yeah.
But when you only have one pass attempt the entire fucking game that is beyond 20 yards.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Just throw it to see what happens. Shit, we did that against Purdue and we got 27 different pass interference calls.
We did that against Illinois, and we had several good plays downfield.
Just make a fucking attempt.
That high point that we would throw to Nayor worked several times against Illinois. We haven't seen that since.
He threw the ball 44 times in this game. He had 11 of them go beyond 10 yards.
How many went beyond 20?
One.
I was going to say
it was one. I just said.
Yeah, sorry, I missed
No,
that.
that's fine. But they had 11 of the 44 go beyond 10 yards. Throw a 12-yard pass, to fucking Banks.
And half of those were on a third and long plays.
I didn't understand the philosophy of the game plan even going into it. Why aren't you putting the best players that you have in the best situation? It's not just the best players playing the best. Put them in a good situation to succeed. Fucking try.
Well, and it seems like
it doesn't make any sense.
Seems like we might have got a little bit of an insight into why he called plays that way in his press conference this week.
God.
I'm going to get there in just a second. The last thing I'm going to say about going back to just the game plan itself, you have to involve the guys that know the playbook and that understand how the plays are going to be called and why they're going to be called a certain way. For those of you that haven't followed or don't follow us on Twitter, go check us out on Twitter. We'd love the extra follows. We're almost to 1,000, but you'll see an account we interact with on there a lot. Coach BA Show. It's a new podcast this year. The guy's a high school football coach who does a great job breaking down film, and he went into breaking down the specific play that Matt Rule was talking about on one of his shows, where he's talking about the first interception that Raiola threw in the first half. And he talks about, if you recall, it was Fedoni, and he was running a little out. And that play design is the way that he described it all, and it was backed up by how Rule talked about that specific interception in the Monday press conference. Fedoni was supposed to turn in. He was supposed to know that play, based on where they were on the field on the left hash, was supposed to turn in and not go to the sideline.
Oh, now that just
and Fedoni went out. Well, guess where the fucking ball got picked off? Right where Fedoni was supposed to be.
Because right after that, Fedoni turned around oh shit, my bad.
And the following two plays were run plays after that Fedoni was in on, and I watched Fedoni basically give up on blocks, back-to-back plays, and cost us tackles for loss. Make one block on the Heinrich Harburg left end around, and Heinrich Harburg's in the end zone. You just missed your guy for no reason. It was a lazy play. There's no reason. At that point, we would have been down by a touchdown. And instead, I believe that was the next play was the interception. It just doesn't make sense to me. A lot of what's going on, it feels to me like if you talk so much about getting rid of the negative, oh, woe is me, oh, we're losers, oh, all the loser mentality that was here when Matt Rule showed up.
They can't quit thinking about it then.
They've talked about it so much and getting rid of it. I think Rule has to walk that fine line between convincing them and telling them that they are not losers and that they are winners and they are good. But I think we might have gone overboard just a smidge to the fact that they have decided in 2 games now, it seems like they showed up thinking, we don't really have to play that hard. We are that good, so fuck them. Yeah, this is just supposed to come easy. Because that's what the defense looked like to me.
Yeah. And the defense got beat every single drive.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible to see.
And we talked ahead of time. I know we wanted to make this Indiana portion short. We talked ahead of time about the things that they need to do on defense, about disguising the defense and bringing different packages and getting more guys behind the line, and we didn't do any of that.
We
in this
can't
game.
be the only people out there.
We play. We
Go
were,
ahead.
We both listened plenty. A lot of people were talking about how Nebraska has the ability to do a good job describing their defense, or disguising their defense. We just didn't do that in this game. We played like we didn't know what was coming next. And
Well,
it
specifically
wasn't
the
that
RPO
hard.
game.
That's what I was gonna bring up. We talked about this in the show, where the stat was that Indiana was either 1 or number 2 in
Number 1 in the country
RPO
in
offense.
5 different categories when it comes to how they grade out an RPO
Yes.
offense.
And Nebraska's defense was like in the 90s.
91st, I believe.
But the way that you
And
fight
it
the
showed on
RPO
Saturday.
God damn it.
is by bluffing and disguising and running stints. And we didn't do any of that in this game.
No.
Didn't make any sense.
I
to
mean,
me.
even if we did, it wasn't successful. I mean, 'cause-
No, I was watching for it.
Yeah.
Never happened.
The play that stood out most in my mind on the defensive side of the ball when I heard Matt Rule saying after the game, I never saw anybody give up. I never saw anybody give up the whole game. Bullshit. I watched 2 dudes. I don't even remember who it was off the top of my head, and I'm not trying to call anybody out specifically by name.
Call them out.
But I watched 2 guys on an easy touchdown throw, thinking they're going to get a flag called because the guy was blocking past 1 yard. And it was a little swing pass out to the left. Well, guess what? He threw it behind the line, so therefore it's not an illegal block downfield. Therefore, it's touchdown. Instead of trying to cover your man, you just gave up on the play because it was easy and you thought you were going to get a pass interference call. That's fucking lazy football. That's not the way that we keep getting told that that's how they're training these guys. So it's frustrating to see that come up in a game,
Mhm.
regardless of who's in the game, how far they're down, because that was the backup quarterback throwing that touchdown.
All right. So
But back to what you said, you tried to segue into it already. I want to get your live reaction. From what I understand, you've been in Mexico, you didn't see the press conference at all.
I have not gotten to see any, whether it's the post-game press conference, the Monday, Tuesday, or even the today's press conference. No, there wasn't one today. It's tomorrow.
He doesn't know
but
what day it is, folks.
I barely do.
Like
You're right.
This
He
is
lived
Wednesday.
Saturday for the last 5 days.
We're Wednesday night right now. Like I said, I have been a Marcus Satterfield apologist to this point, and I really play calling was a head scratcher for me this past weekend, but it wasn't until the last question of him up on the podium on Tuesday that I lost almost all faith in him as a coach, period. Here it is.
Marcus, as a play caller, what's that target number for yards per play that you would aim for? That's within reason.
That's a good play. Or it's between 4 and 6. I don't know what. I honestly don't even know what leads the country in yards per play. What would be a top yards per play?
You guys are at 5.5 right now. That's why I asked.
Yeah, that's a great question. You stopped me. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know what's leading the country, but I want it to be a little bit more than what it is now, for sure.
Yes.
You don't have anything to say about
No,
that?
I do. Okay, so I have not heard that clip until now. I was during some of my downtimes kind of trying to catch up on maybe some sleep and sobering up a little bit, scrolling through Twitter and heard massive reaction to this. But I never actually clicked on it to listen because I was just like, I'll listen to it later.
People tend to overreact.
Really?
Yeah, people tend to overreact. I
So-
don't feel like there's been a massive overreaction to this. I feel like the reaction's about where it should be.
So I will say, I typed this out on the plane today because I knew we were going to talk about this. My first gut reaction to that truly is, because I saw this out of some people where they said coaches, and we even brought up the Coach BA show. He was talking about this on Twitter, how he contacted a bunch of offensive coordinators.
8 high school offensive coordinators.
And they all know their yards per play and what their goal is and all that stuff. That's fine. To each their own, you do you. I truly don't give a shit if any of my coaches that I root for knows stats. I don't care if you know who's leading the country. Because to me, if you're worried about that, you're worried about the wrong thing. You only need to worry about your team. That's fine. I truly don't have an issue with that part of the statement that Satterfield gave.
honestly, I figured you were going to pull a different quote from him in his press conference.
What's that?
Because I figured we were going to talk a bit more about getting in the right mindset to run the ball more in the Big Ten.
Oh, I'll get there. But I want to
was gonna
hone
say,
in on this because I got something
if you're
going
gonna
to
get there, then I won't continue much farther past here.
Because that was where I lost him more than anything.
Well, let me
That's
respond
fine.
to what you're saying here
Go
because here's my biggest thing. There are baseline metrics that should be measured and are measured in every profession. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking janitor at a high school. There are baseline metrics that measure your productivity and your performance in your job. That is one of them.
Yards per play is
yards
also
per play is a massive, like right up there next to points, is how you are going to measure offensive efficiency. And that is a primary function of your job. You're the CEO of the offense. Yes, it's your job to call the plays, but it's also your job to focus on offensive efficiency. That includes making sure all of your position coaches are doing the right thing, putting the right people in the right packages on the field for the right plays. All that stuff falls on Marcus Satterfield's head. And the rest of Marcus Satterfield doing his job and the metrics that he should be measured by falls on Matt Rule's head. And the fact that that is not something that he is at top of mind thinking about, his offensive efficiency numbers, and doesn't have a target in mind that even makes sense to answer the fucking question. Are you kidding me?
So the Matt Rule part goes into what Matt just said will lead into another thing. So I'm going to put that to the side for just a second. With what you just said, there's two things there. One, I'm not completely disagreeing with you, but there are a lot of people in today's world, though, in the analytics world, that care more about points per play than yards per play. So if you care more about points per play, I don't fault you for not giving a shit what your yards per play is. I care more about, or there was one person on Twitter that I did see a response from that said they took his response about the yards per play thing more about if you technically more big picture than small picture, if you technically get 3.5, 4 yards per play,
Yeah,
you're going to get a first
I saw the
down.
staying on schedule thing. I get that.
So I care, we kind of talked about this with some of the, game plan for the Indiana game. I care more about an offensive coordinator or even a defensive coordinator that can create a game plan for the opponent they are with, can execute that game plan, and if that doesn't work, adapt the game plan as the game goes on. If you average 4 yards per play, technically speaking, you're going to be okay because you're going to get a first down every 3 plays. Now, am I saying that I'm going to be happy with 4 yards per play? Obviously not. I'm just saying I can see that argument as far as maybe he was thinking more big picture when he was trying to fumble through his numbers. But either way, he still sounded like a fucking moron.
He sounded like he didn't know what he was doing.
I can't disagree with that. I'm just saying I truly don't care if he knows the stats in that aspect. I care more about his game plan and him adapting the game plan as the game goes on. Specifically, this Indiana game, he did not. It was terrible from the very beginning. The game plan sucked, and he clearly didn't adjust to the game plan. That's what I care about more than any statistical thing.
Matt, what were you going to say about the other quote?
nothing. It was awful. I was going to make a joke about janitors because I feel like we're pretty heavy on this episode.
Well,
and I think yards per play is also a good stat for a janitor. But I just try to keep it light because I'm trying not to
Did you
shit
say
on
yards
people
per
too much.
stat or yards per scat?
Yards per play.
For janitors, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
the quote you're talking about, the part that really gets me is we've now heard for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, Matt Rule make a pretty strong statement about the need for the power run game in the games and the need to establish the run game and the need to focus on the run game more than what we have. And it seems like when you have Satterfield come up and say the stuff that he's like you said, the quote that he said about, I need to remember to focus on trying to establish
in the
run.
mindset.
Yeah. What have you been doing for the last 3 weeks that your head coach has been calling it out in his press conferences? And again, where's the disconnect between I'm the head coach, you're the offensive coordinator, I will let you have the autonomy to run your offense how you want to run it, but you're going to run it the way that I want you to.
The long-time listeners of this show will know that we stroke Matt Rule every chance we get. We love Matt Rule. I don't know the last time we questioned Matt Rule. We love hearing Matt Rule speak.
It almost hurts my stomach to question him.
Absolutely. But we're going to question Matt Rule right now.
Marcus Satterfield's
Because
entire press conference this week made me question Matt Rule.
everybody that knows me for a long time knows that I always start at the top. I did it with, mainly the two most divisive figures over the last handful of years, Bo Pelini and Scott Frost, where I couldn't stand either one of the two and everybody else loved them. And people would always put blame on this player or this assistant coach or that assistant coach. And I would always respond with, well, who's the head guy that's allowing that shit to happen? And it's always Bo Pelini or Scott Frost. We heard all from the moment last season ended. We've heard from Matt Rule talk about what he's learned from his first year coaching in the Big Ten. He talked about it after the Iowa game where he learned maybe there's a good time to, instead of taking the ball, just take the direction of the wind like Kirk Ferentz did against us last year at the end of the season. And it obviously helped them with kicking that field goal at the end of the game. He talked about the wind.
I don't think it's going to matter this year with our kickers.
That's not the point.
I know, I'm kidding.
I know. But we heard it all off season about how he learned from his first season in the Big Ten about how important it is to run the ball when you have to. Shit, we talked about it all off season about how we've questioned how this running game is going to be. We just don't fucking know for obvious reasons, but also without a running quarterback.
Didn't know. I think we know now.
Well, we know. I'm leading into that. I'm kind of doing a chronological thing, but yes. We talked about how we had this, I think it was the second best rushing offense in the Big Ten last year, but it was because of Heinrich Harburg. It wasn't because of our running backs.
Yeah.
And now we're coming into a season without a running quarterback. So how is that running game going to be? But again, we heard from Matt Rule talk about the importance of the running game all off season. The importance of running the ball when you have to, not when you need to, or not when you want to, when you have to, and how important it is in the Big Ten. We assumed that with that conversation constantly was that he was going to put an emphasis to his offensive coordinator to actually fucking run the ball.
Yeah.
And he's clearly not. He's going to sit there in his press conferences the last handful of weeks and question this and question that about the running game. It's like, no, you need to look at your goddamn offensive coordinator and say, run the fucking ball. Stop it. It is important to the Big Ten. We saw this in the Rutgers game with the wind. We talked about how much the wind affected everything in the Rutgers game. You need to be able to run the ball in the Big Ten in these type of environments. We cannot run the ball because we don't have an emphasis to it. If your offensive coordinator does not have an emphasis to it, and he clearly is standing up here after 7 weeks of the season going, well, I don't fucking know. Matt Rule needs to go into his office and say, bitch, fix this or get the fuck out.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but there are major programs all across the country right now that are dropping their offensive coordinators midseason. It's happening in the NFL right now. They're demoting guys. You have the ability right now. You have a co-offensive coordinator. You have somebody else in the building that can call the fucking plays.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me that he's not going to do what you need him to do, you need to replace him. That's that.
I'm still trying to work through Matt Rule walking into anybody's office and saying, bitch, fix this.
Hey, he's a Jersey boy. He would do it.
Oh, absolutely. Except for probably something along. It'd be more of a, listen here, motherfucker.
I agree.
And then the screaming starts when you're this far from his face.
But you lost me for a second because I just got lost.
You visualize him just knocking on Satterfield's door.
Last thing with this offense that I'm going to talk about from the press conference that really bugged me was something Jamal Banks said. Jamal Banks, I love him. He's a single-digit guy. He's obviously a high-character, high-effort guy, but he also sucked in the game blocking on the perimeter, and he has for a couple weeks. And the comment that he made when asked about perimeter blocking, when he said, we are getting the guys out here that are willing to do it, A, that's an indictment on the other guys in your room. Don't know who it is, but that's an indictment on those guys. And B, are you talking about yourself? Because you ain't been doing it, bro.
Well, I would think that if you're going to stand in front of a microphone and say those types of things, you're also talking about yourself.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm wondering if he's going to start doing it now since he didn't do it in Indiana.
I'm just saying.
Those are a couple things that are going to have to be worked on this week.
To say the least.
To say the very least. I think that the
Yeah,
offensive
by the way-
playbook as a whole, the complexity of the types of plays that we're calling needs to be pared down.
By the way, I'm looking at Jamal Banks's run blocking grade on Pro Football Focus. Oh boy, yeah, he needs to figure his shit out too.
Is it that bad?
31.1.
There can't be much of a good one on there, is there?
Oh yeah, because let's see, the highest one is Luke Lindenmeyer at 82.3.
Okay. Glorified fullback.
Yeah.
Anybody on the perimeter, though, that's done well?
Guys that played a lot, because Lindenmeyer only had 7 snaps, so it's not like he, was out there. Let's see. Porkature had 21 snaps. He was at 76.7. He would be the next highest.
That's solid.
So
He's not going to be blocking on the perimeter, though.
no,
I don't know. That's where we are.
but I do remember one specific block that Porkature just completely he didn't block the first guy. He went upfield to block the second guy.
Yeah.
And the first guy made the tackle for loss. But
On to Ohio State. Let's just get this over with because
do we have to?
it's here's what I'm going to say about Ohio State, and then I would kind of want to just jump into the questions unless you guys have something special. They're more talented at every single position on the field
than almost anybody in the country.
than almost anybody in the country. I think their coach is probably showing that he's not capable of running such a high-level program. That's why they lost to Oregon.
He's been showing that as they played.
Embarrassing
He's been
fashion.
showing that
I
as they
wouldn't go
played
that
against
far, but-
Michigan every year.
I agree with
He's
you
just
there.
he's a phenomenal assistant. That's what he is.
I think he'd be good in a lot of places. I just think he's not driving the Lambo the way the Lambo needs to be driven to win. That's all I've got there because I don't think that he's going to have a hard time. They could probably just roll it down the hill and not even turn the engine on and beat us this weekend if we play like we did last weekend.
If we play like we did last weekend, sure. If we play as we're capable to, if we play at the maximum ability of the talent we have on the field, we could be in this game very easily.
This is the best game for me to go into without doing any homework on because Ohio State's good.
Yes. Everywhere. They are good everywhere. If you
To be
look-
fair, though, we're only half game behind them in the Big Ten.
If you look at the Pro Football Focus grades on every single player on both sides of the ball, they outrate us every single time. Every single time. Dylan Raiola, from a talent perspective, is probably close to Will Howard, but Will Howard is playing his 5th or 6th year in college. Just has more experience and has way more fucking weapons. My only question that I guess I have for you guys is, do you think Matt Rule, we still love Matt Rule.
Absolutely.
We still love Matt Rule. We might have some question marks right now about his choice at offensive
You can
coordinator.
criticize your family members that you love the most.
Yes.
I mean, it's
If you aren't allowed to have questions after you get beat by Indiana by almost 50 points, what are you
I
doing?
get it. Stop being disrespectful in Indiana. They're fucking good.
They're fine.
Okay.
They're fucking good, but they're
fighting,
Indiana.
The Fighting Signettis.
What the fuck ever. It's still
My
Indiana.
question to you is this. Do we think Matt Rule allows Nebraska to be beaten like a redheaded stepchild 2 weeks in a row?
I will say I don't think it's up to Matt Rule. I think it's up to the players.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can have a much better game plan, but I agree with Jed.
The quote that I saw from Isaac Gifford was basically like, "No, I mean, all of this sucks, but we have to get up off the ground and fucking do something."
They
Yeah.
have to want to win
That's not
this
the
week.
quote, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
Just
You're paraphrasing. It's
Yeah.
fine. They have to want to win and believe that they can win this week, or it's not even going to be close.
Yeah. No.
They didn't seem like, yeah, everybody wants to win, but they didn't seem like they walked into that stadium last week with the desire to go beat them last week. They need to find that if they're going to be in this game. That's the big difference, is they need to actually show that they're willing to go after it with everything they've got. And that's just to stay in the game. I don't even know if we'll win it, but that's to not lose by 50.
And the downside, and granted, it's only 2 data points, but the downside is so far going on the road for this team. I mean, yeah, I know we won the first game, but the way we started out against Purdue, going on the road's not very good for us. And if you start out that way, like you did against Purdue, against Ohio State, get the fuck out.
It's gonna be bad.
Roll out. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, no. So, yikes. We'll see.
From a comparison standpoint to Indiana, do we know much about the style of offense that Ohio State runs compared to what Indiana ran against
Yes,
us?
it's really fucking good with a lot of talent. That's the style of offense that they run.
Real physical.
All right.
Borderline violent.
Yeah.
A lot of speed.
I mean, they've got two of the top probably 10 wide receivers in the country.
That Jeremiah Smith
They've got
is a fucking
they've got
stud.
two
God.
NFL caliber running backs. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding for our defense.
If
2 weeks in a
Jeremiah
row.
Smith wasn't a true freshman, he'd probably still be a top 10 pick this upcoming season.
Yeah. He's decent.
God.
He's decent. I wonder how he does with the RPO.
If there's one thing we can maybe point to, which I don't think it's really a thing we can point to, but on the offensive line, they've got 4 dudes that are going to be amazing. They've got I think a true freshman starting at left tackle because they lost their left tackle for the rest of the season last week.
Something tells me he's probably a 5-star
Yeah,
kid.
he's probably going to be okay. Probably going to be okay. But I mean, outside of that, their defense is nasty. Their defense is extremely similar to what we saw last year from Michigan. So it's going to be it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. If Raiola comes out and has a bounce back game, that's the only way I can really see this going not the same way as it did last week. Other than just hopefully the guy's not giving up.
Yeah,
I want to see maximum effort, or I want to see dudes pulled.
Well, and more than anything, I want to see them try and open up the offense a little bit. They're sitting here in first gear all of last week.
Yeah.
Just try to push the ball downfield and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Worst case, you have 3 interceptions like you did last week.
Yeah, not trying to push the ball down the field, you throw 4 interceptions. That's real, or 3 interceptions. That's real fucking bad.
So
At least it shows, again,
you're
I don't want to go back to the Indiana thing. It shows that you're fucking trying.
that's what I mean.
You threw one ball past 20 fucking yards, and it was to your goddamn tight end. Like,
And it was on like a 4th and 18 or a 3rd and 18, something like that. Let's move on to the questions. This show's gotten so negative. I want to talk about some positive shit because y'all know that I can't help but pick bad on questions.
First question, Nebraska first downs, 15.5. Nebraska is averaging 23 per game on the road. Ohio State gives up an average of 11 per game at home. Kind of splitting the difference there.
Yeah.
Under.
Under?
Unless we push the ball downfield a lot. Under.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
Wait, unless we push the ball downfield, so definitely under?
Yeah.
Because we clearly, apparently don't.
Look, you start throwing a bunch of swing passes in this game, all you're going to do is get picked off and give up pick sixes. They're too fast. You got to be more creative.
Yes. Especially against this defense.
And especially with our receivers blocking the way they are.
Nebraska had 12 first downs against Indiana last week. 15.5
No,
was
they
the number?
didn't. They had over 20.
Hey. What are you doing here? You using AI to pick your numbers for you?
No, I
Get
was
that off your
asking how
screen.
many.
Get that off your screen.
That's not what I'm doing. I didn't have time to go pull up that stat. I thought I would be able to find it there, and apparently gave me the wrong number.
That's why they're averaging 23 per game on the road, because they had like 20, I think, against
They
Indiana.
moved the
Okay.
ball down
They had
the
like
field
26
reasonably well.
Fuck
against-
you, Gemini.
They had like 26 against
Bullshit.
Purdue. That,
I'm gonna go over. Just from sheer numbers of how many times we're probably gonna have the ball, because if our defense is scored upon the way that I kind of expect it is, we're gonna have quite a few chances to possess the ball.
yeah, I mean, as bad as... So we moved the ball a lot against Purdue, but it's Purdue. And we still had well over the 15.5 against Indiana in a blowout. And I'm sadly to say it's probably going to be a blowout again this week. I'm kind of have to go with the over.
Yeah.
Question
This is
number
where Matt continues to gain on us. That's what's happening.
question
I
number
hope not. I hope
2.
I'm wrong. I hope we can finish some fucking drives this time.
Will Ohio State's defense record more than 3 sacks in the game? So I guess we'll say 3.5 sacks for this game. Ohio State's defense is averaging 3 sacks per game, and Nebraska gives up an average of 2 sacks per game. So Ohio State sacks 3.5.
Under.
I think I'm going to go over. I think that we are going to see the ball get pushed downfield a little bit more in this game, but that's also going to require Dylan Raiola to hold the ball a little bit more. I just don't see our cobbled together offensive line as being able to hold up against this, probably the best defensive line we're going to see all season. It's going to be tough, and they're going to come for him.
I agree with everything you said. Dylan Raiola is also pretty good about getting rid of the ball
He is.
and finding ways to throw an incomplete pass, even if he's inside the pocket.
You're right about that.
So I think he's going to be very aware of how good their defensive line is this week.
I am going to say over only because I am fearful of, obviously, Raiola's not a mobile quarterback, but can he move with that ankle injury? I'm more fearful of that.
Did you hear anything about that this week?
Only that he's fine.
Okay.
It was we literally heard after the game that he was fine, and we heard on Monday that he's fine. We heard from Satterfield, he's fine. Not worried about his injury whatsoever.
Okay.
He's super similar to a Patrick Mahomes in the same way that they train that same way that they try for. They're all about pliability. They're all about making sure that they're bouncy, and it's kind of a LeBron James thing. You can twist your ankle and still be functional, whereas a lot of people get super stiff on it. Doesn't mean he's 100%, but it means that he's fine.
I will say I don't believe that he's fine.
I'm with you.
So
There's
that's why I'm gonna
injury
take it
there.
over.
There's
Yes.
injury
Yes.
there. You don't twist it the way he did. That was a freak little deal, too.
Yeah.
And Matt Rule went, fucking turf. I guarantee it.
Question 3. Which team will score first? Ohio State has scored first in 4 of their 6 games. Nebraska has scored first in 4 of their 7 games. So who will score first? I will just.
Do you want me to take it?
I never start these things, but I'll just say Nebraska will not score first,
Yeah.
and it will be Ohio State.
I'm going to go with Nebraska, even if it is our only score of the day. I also, for some weird reason, think it might be a field goal.
Whoa. From what? The 3.5 yard line?
I think, no, here's what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
I think Matt Rule has got other things to worry about this week. And he basically complained on Monday about the analytics say this, and sometimes you just got to go with your gut and go against the analytics. He was specifically talking about some of the 4th downs that they went for instead of trying to kick it. So,
Which the thing is, I agreed with like 98% of them.
I didn't have a problem with
I don't
those moments.
care.
You're 100% right, mostly because I'm terrified of running a kicker out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that he was going against analytics there.
Yeah.
We've also
When you haven't made it with your current
that's not
field goal
analytics.
kicker.
No,
That's
no.
logic.
He said sometimes you should go against the analytics because the analytics inside the 40-yard line on like 4th and 3 or 4th and 3 and down, analytics say go for it. Like it's just what they do.
Our analytics shouldn't have the option for kicking a field goal there.
I'm with you. I'm talking about general analytics.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm with you though.
Analytics.
But
I'm sorry.
I'm calling right now. I just think it's going to be a
Fine.
field goal.
No,
That's all
hold
it
on.
is.
Great.
First of all, Matt, don't answer. I already put Ohio State for you.
Great.
But back to that thing. Analytics, logic. I'm going to use logic, and we don't kick field goals.
And sometimes I just say dumb shit.
Look,
Sometimes.
I can totally see Nebraska scoring first if they fumble the kickoff.
Jesus.
Otherwise,
Matt
I'm taking
has
Ohio
zero
State.
faith in this.
Question number 4.
I have zero faith in this because I think our defense is going to get trampled.
Trampled.
Ohio State's
We had to
offense,
lighten this up somehow.
Ohio State's offense is so much better than Indiana's, and Indiana put up 56 points on
Yeah.
it. That's why.
I'm with you.
Question number 4. Who will have more passing yards, Dylan Raiola or Will Howard?
Will Howard.
Dylan Raiola has thrown for 1,000 or basically 1,600 yards, averaging 199 per game. Will Howard is averaging 262 per game.
I think Dylan Raiola could put up 300 yards in this game, and it's going to be Will Howard.
Yeah, I don't think Dylan Raiola can put up 300 yards in this game because their defensive backs are really fucking good,
Really
including
fucking
Caleb
good.
Downs, who's, well, outside of Will Anderson at Michigan, probably the best defensive back in the country.
Yeah. I think the only way that I could see Raiola going over the 300 mark would be on some of them jet sweeps that are going to get called and for some reason busted. When you look at the way Ohio State's defense was played against Oregon, it was an extremely balanced attack, and Oregon was able to rush the ball on them. I don't expect that we're going to be able to do that, but I do think a balanced attack is going to be the only way to try and stay in this. But at the same time, I do see us getting down pretty early and having to sling it around. I don't really know, but I also feel I feel like the point was made. You make a statement like they don't get in, and you're all cocky the way that our guys were going into the Indiana game about rushing touchdowns. It would not shock me if Ohio State ran the ball for 300 yards on us. I think Will Howard's going to have a slow day because he's not going to be needed that much.
So you're taking Raiola?
I'm taking Raiola.
Shit. I was going to take Raiola for that exact reason, but
Do it. Will Howard might be out after halftime.
Again, this is how he fucking
well, but it might be
It
the
blew up
whole
in my face last week.
It's true.
That's kind of the point. Like, that's kind of why I want to take Raiola, because I don't know if they're going to need Howard.
Look, guys, Nebraska's got a 3.5% chance to win this game.
Because of one of the questions, well, actually, literally the next question, I'm going to go Howard just because.
He's really feeling not taking it with me.
Absolutely. You know you're in last, right? Between us
I know.
three.
I had a good week last week.
Yeah,
You
that
did,
didn't.
and you're still in last.
Question number 5.
I might have cried myself to sleep that night,
Will
too.
Dylan Raiola pass for over 220 yards? Again, he's averaging 199 yards per game. Ohio State gives up an average of 165 per game. So we'll 219 and a half.
I feel like I'm being really negative, but I'm saying no.
Okay.
I'm being negative on a lot of this stuff, but if Indiana does what they did to us last week, Ohio State's going to do it worse. Unless we change a lot of things. And if our coaches figure it out, awesome. I'm happy to be wrong on every single one of my picks this week.
Mm-hmm. I hope you are too. Well, except for the ones I agree with you on.
The story goes, Marcus Satterfield's last year at South Carolina, that the play calling was halfway taken away from him going into the Tennessee game. And I recall that Tennessee game, I think it was the weekend of Halloween. That's all I remember for sure. I know I was at a Halloween party watching it. And South Carolina hung like 70 on Tennessee that night, I want to say. They went off. So I have no idea if any hopes or dreams are going to come true for 99% of Husker fans this week. But if for some reason some sort of control is taken away from Satterfield and the asinine game planning that went on last week gets fixed for this week, I expect things are going to change a little bit. That's also why I have faith in Raiola, so I'm going to go with the over.
Do you realize what kind of weird sort of butterfly effect you just had to go through in order to pick your pick?
I was trying to make a point.
The feather has to come off the bird and land on the giraffe's nose, to sneeze and spook the elephant, to stumble into a phone booth and call Matt Rule, to take away calling plays from Marcus Satterfield.
All right. Oh, my God.
By the way, I think we just found our intro.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I was just going to say. Bringing that back. Wow.
Woo!
Matt, that was something.
I practically just reiterated what you said.
That's goddamn, bro. Woo!
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, good gravy.
Well, back to the question of will Dylan Raiola pass for over 220 yards? I'm going to say no, just because Ohio State's defense is really fucking good. Their
They're really
secondary is great. I know we're probably going to have to sling the ball around, even though pretty much this entire show, even going to the Indiana stuff, we talked about we need to accentuate the run. Sorry. Like,
No, you need to be able to run.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
Yeah.
difference.
No, I'm not going over 220.
Now, I will say, as good as their secondary is, I think if our receivers were playing at their full potential and Raiola felt that he could get the ball to him, they could keep up with him just fine.
Okay.
I mean, Oregon threw for 341 on him.
Yeah, that's Oregon.
I know. Just saying.
Question number 6. Will Nebraska's defense hold Ohio State to under 300 passing yards? Ohio State averages 300 passing yards per game. Nebraska's defense allows 220 passing yards per game.
This one, I'm going to be somewhat positive on. I'm going to say yes, they do hold them under.
I'm saying yes as well because kind of like what we talked about with the
They're not going
who
to
has
need
more
to
passing
throw
yards.
the ball that
Bingo.
much.
Bingo.
I'm doing that as well. Iowa's defense held them to 209. That's the 250 range is where I'm going to expect us to be on this.
Yeah.
Well, again, is it Iowa's defense held them under, or did Ohio State just not care to
Either way.
throw more?
Iowa's defense played
I'm
that
just saying.
game really well until basically middle of the third quarter, and then it was like, oh shit, fuck, okay.
Or Ohio State was like, nah, we're not going to fuck around anymore.
It was also one of those just dreary, sleepy Ohio
Yeah.
days, and they finally woke up.
Yep.
That is one other thing that I think will play a factor here. Damon and Ravi were talking about this earlier this week on their show, how there's definitely an advantage Huskers for this being an 11 o'clock game and not a late afternoon or evening game, because the crowds are going to be different. It's not going to be, as Sean Callahan put it, they're a blue collar crowd. And so they're going to be a little slower to get to it in the morning on a Saturday. I think that's strange.
That is the dumbest fucking thing I could even hear. It's Ohio fucking State for big noon kickoff.
Yeah.
And you think they're just going to roll it? Oh, I guess I'll wake up for this game. It's Ohio State.
I don't think there's that much excitement over this game, though, for them.
It's not about the game. They care about every game
Yeah,
for the entire season. They're
Just-
like us. We
Yeah.
care about every
They
game, no matter
are-
how
they
bad
are
or good we are.
Just as nutty as Nebraska fans.
As in
they will be there.
Bucknuts for Buckeyes. Yes,
Yeah.
nutty.
All right.
What?
We've done a lot more laughing on this show than I expected, as dark as it started.
It's kind of more of
We're
a like a
delusional at
we
this
have to
point.
laugh through our
Yeah.
pain.
yeah,
sort of
laugh through the
thing.
pain for sure.
Question
It's
7.
like a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh,
They
shit.
just did over there.
Ohio,
shit.
Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins rushing yards 89.5. He averages 81.8 per game. Nebraska gives up for an entire team 102 per game. So 89.5. Does he get to 90 yards? Quinshon Judkins.
Well, let me ask you. They have two
That's
rushers.
a tough name to say on a bunch of Jaeger.
They have two rushers over 400 yards on the season. Travion Henderson
Yeah.
is also up there. Are they splitting carries right
Yeah.
now?
Oh, yeah.
So Travion Henderson was the starter all year
They're
last
like
year.
1A and 1B.
Could have gone top 3 round in the draft. Probably would have been the first or second running back off the board last year.
Yeah.
And he stayed. And then Judkins transferred in from Ole Miss.
Yep.
And he was their leading back last year.
Okay.
It's a absolute gluttony of embarrassment of riches back there. I think one of them is going to probably break the 100-yard mark. I don't know which one it is. Coin flip, I'm going to go with Judkins.
So you're taking the over?
I just said they were going to run for 300 on us. So.
Well, if they're going to run for 300 on us, then they're both going to break the 100-yard mark, and I'm also going to take the over.
Did I
Yeah.
drug Matt with me there?
No, well, I'm doing the same thing.
No, that number honestly just feels low. I would put his number at 99
So
and a half.
here's a serious question for you guys, though. Do you really think that the rush defense has fallen off as far as what we're talking about right now? That we're going to see this in back-to-back games, or do you really think that last week was maybe a little bit of an anomaly and they're going to get right?
I myself, I truly am just going off of this. I'm sorry, I know we're a Nebraska football podcast, but I don't really care who Ohio State's going to play. I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins against literally anybody to go over 90 yards.
That's fair.
Because he's that good of a player, and he's running behind that good of an offensive line. I'm not saying he's obviously, because he's only averaging 80 only, because we would love to have a guy like that.
No shit.
He's averaging
Why can't we just have one of them?
82 yards per game. But if you put this number, if we're every other podcast, when he plays Penn State next week again after us, if you put 89.5 yards for Quinshon Judkins against Penn State, I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins at the over because that's how good he is. It's not necessarily about what Nebraska does or doesn't do. I think Ohio State's that good. I think he is that good.
You know what?
Well-
you just talked me into taking the under.
Okay.
I'm taking the under.
Cool.
I switched
That's
I flipped my pick.
I'm going to keep mine, and I'm going to answer your question, even though he didn't want to. And the answer is yes. I think our rush defense has fallen off some this year. I think that the anomaly of not letting a rushing touchdown happen, while awesome, was that it was an anomaly. We still allowed plenty of rushing from the other teams that we played. And so especially with the way their offensive line is built at Ohio
Indiana
State.
game, we're still a top 10 rushing defense in the country.
Still, it's Ohio State.
I'm with you.
And
I'm with you.
Indiana put up, what was it, 300 rushing yards on us? Somewhere in there?
200 something.
It was up there.
Yeah, 215.
Okay, still, that was a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Ohio State is better than Indiana. However much dick sucking you want to do on Indiana now that they beat us.
So just for statistical purposes, Quinshon Judkins has only gone over the 89.5 twice in the 6 games. The closest he got from the underside is 78 against Iowa. But again, I think they're going to be up. I think they're going to run the ball more.
Yeah.
So now, granted, I don't think he's going to play the entire game.
I was going to say, my question is, at what point do we see the third and fourth stringers?
I mean, so I guess in that aspect, I would understand taking the under if you don't think he's going to play past the second quarter. But I'm still going to take the over just because.
Numbers are numbers, man.
Yep. Will Nebraska's Dante Dowdell score a rushing touchdown? He has scored a touchdown in 5 games this season, 5 of the 7. So will he score a rushing touchdown? I like it. By the way, this is the first time I have not done the questions. You did the questions, BJ, this week. I like how you put rushing touchdown, not just a touchdown, because he doesn't catch the ball anyway.
Doesn't catch the ball for shit.
Well, you could have just put a touchdown and it would have been the same question.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. So anybody?
I don't think anybody wants to answer this question.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I think when we score this week, it's going to be through the air.
Okay.
See, I don't want to answer this.
No, the answer is no. I'm sorry.
No.
That's what I'm going with. So
Fine. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
But I'm only saying yes because I think there's going to be a fluke where he hits the hole and it's actually going to be the right hole and he's going to run for.
Wait, do you think he's going to see
You
the
mean
hole?
he's going to hit a hole?
He's going to hit
Instead of
a
someone's
hole.
butthole on our offensive line.
He's going to hit a hole in the wall, in the line.
So when he hits the hole, will it be on purpose or by accident?
By accident.
Because he doesn't see the hole.
1,000% by
Okay.
accident. But it's going to be the right place that he's supposed to be in. And for the first time, it's going to be the right choice. And he's going to run forever because he runs fucking hard. He's a great runner. He's just blind. So, I think for some reason, I think he scores a touchdown this week.
Okay. The other reason with what you just said, my issue with that is even after he breaks through the hole, he's not fast enough to break past anybody. So I think he'll still get tackled, but I'm still going to go
It
with
could
the
be
no.
from 10 or 15 yards out.
Yeah.
But kind of like BJ with the for some reason we're going to kick a field goal as our first points.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Okay. Yes or no? Will Malachi Coleman play in this game?
So I threw this question and the next question I threw on here because I think this is a shakeup week. After you get punched in the mouth the way that we got punched in the mouth last week, it's time for a plan B.
Has he played yet?
Yes.
This question and the next question is Malachi Coleman and Riley Van Poppel. I think those are our 2 biggest guys we've had on the shelf that we're redshirting this year. And I think if we don't see them in this game, that signals to me that we came in understanding we were going to lose. Because this is a game you pull out all the stops.
I like your reasoning. I'm going to say he plays.
I'm saying he plays. So here's my thing about that. And yes, you got to put your best guys out there. All those things. What Jamal Banks said about getting the guys out there that are willing to block immediately made me think of Jed's story that he told about an angry Malachi Coleman is a good Malachi Coleman from when you went to that practice.
Open practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said he got knocked on his ass or something like that.
Oh, he got worked on one drill and he got chewed out and he was pissed. And every drill after that, where he had to block somebody. He blocked that dude's dick in the dirt. Like, yeah.
That's what we need.
That's
What we need. If you're gonna sit here and tell me this is a problem, this is a major problem, and I'm not talking about the coaches saying this. I'm talking about every Tom, Dick, and Harry sitting on their fucking couch can see this is a problem. You have a solution sitting on the shelf. Fucking use him.
That's what, I keep forgetting that they redshirted him, and it's been pissing me off in a couple games now. Where it's like, I don't understand why he's not on the field, and then I remember he's redshirted.
So
They shouldn't have redshirted him.
So I don't want to go into a big conversation, but I do have to ask a question after you said that. So are you trying to say that they should pull the red shirt?
I'm trying to say that if you're not willing to play the guys that you are that you have to help you win, what the fuck are you doing?
We say it all the time. Put the best guys on the field.
I completely agree, but
You can use them in a season where you should be pretty good.
we are now past the halfway point of the season. He's played in one game where he played on special teams on punt return units.
Which is dumb.
Are you saying that we should pull the red shirt?
I think you have to go to him. If you as the coach, whether it's Matt Rule or whether it's Garrett McGuire, if you as the coach are looking at your squad and you're saying the guys that I'm putting out there aren't getting it done. I have a guy that's sitting over here that's redshirting. I only have 3 games left with him. Let's see if we can get it out of 5. Well, no, out of 4.
5 games left.
Oh, out of 5 games left. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Three out of the
apologize.
last 5 games I can
Yeah.
use him in. I say you have to use him and see how effective it is. And if he is truly a game changer for you, then yeah, you have to have that conversation with him. Hey, do you think it's worth it? And let it be up to him.
I think they'll definitely play 3 more with him. But
Yeah,
do you play the other 2?
that's what I'm saying. Is if he is a game changer in the Ohio State game, in the UCLA game, in the USC game, then you fucking play him.
Okay.
If he doesn't say, no, bro, I want my red shirt.
I also think it depends on where your record's at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, if we lose to Ohio State and we lose to USC, but we beat UCLA, we're already bowl eligible and we're not going to get much better than that.
Mhm.
Now, if we take 3 straight losses, maybe it's a different story.
I don't think that we play Malachi Coleman this week. Mainly because, so I'm going to say this as a fan.
So we're just coming in conceding defeat.
No, I'm saying this as a fan. We're going to lose this game. I'm sorry. We're going to lose this game. Should the players and the coaches go into that? Absolutely not. And they better not. And I don't believe that they will. But I also am not going to sit here and say that if we have that small chance of winning, Malachi Coleman is not the absolute difference maker in us winning or losing the game. So I would much rather, again, as a fan, I would much rather see him in games where he is a difference maker than where it kind of doesn't matter if he plays or not.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I get that.
To me, that sounds like a quasi conceding defeat situation.
Yeah,
But that's fine.
Is the one player the complete difference maker in us winning or losing
I
this
don't know,
game?
man. We haven't seen one player all season long take the top off of defense the way Malachi Coleman did for 2 touchdowns last year.
Okay, that was 2 plays out of the entire season.
We might be we were 1 play away from beating Indiana or beating Illinois. I was going to say, wait a second. one play 40 times for Indiana. We're 1 play away from winning that Illinois game. I'm just if you're not going to put the best players on the field to put you in the best position to win, what are we doing? That's conceding defeat, in my opinion.
I would say in response to that, you said the best players. He's one guy, and I don't think he's, for this specific game, he is the one and only reason why we win or lose this game.
No,
I don't think it's about winning or losing. I think it's about putting the best guys on the field.
yeah, it's about trying for me.
I get it.
And I have the same answer for Riley Van Poppel in the exact same way.
So are you saying yes? I'm sorry.
I'm saying yes for both.
Okay.
I think this is a game where they both deserve to be in the game because we're going to have to use as many guys as possible, especially on that D line. Those guys have got to stay fresh. You cannot let what's going to happen, which has happened in every single game since we saw Northern Illinois do it or Northern Iowa do it to us. Their hitting Ty and Nash with as much as they can in the first quarter because we are allowing them to stay on the field and get burned.
Okay.
They're getting burned out and they are useless by second half.
So before I ask the question that I'm going to, what is your answer about Malachi Coleman playing?
Oh, I said he's going to play.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure that what you said. Should this question be that he's going to play at all or that he's going to play on offense? Because, again, that the game
Don't
that he
give
was
a
in...
shit. If he's not playing on offense, but they put him in the game, that's dumb as fuck in my opinion.
Well, but, okay, the question is, will we see Malachi Coleman in this game?
Yeah.
Is that including
Leave the
special
question.
teams?
Leave the question.
I'm
Yeah.
just
in the game,
No, I
period.
just-
In the game, period.
didn't know if we wanted to maybe say
You have
play
four
actual
you have-
offense.
you have 4 important games for him this season. Is Ohio State one of them?
The fact that he burned a game not playing on
I
offense
will say that's
is
pointless.
weird as shit.
100%. I completely. It's a lot like my guy Ramir Johnson, where he went in for one fucking game against Maryland in his freshman season and burned his red shirt. It's like, this is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So no, I completely agree. That was dumb for him to be in for 3 plays for special teams. But that's why I'm asking: should we kind of change it, or
Nope.
I'm good either
No,
way.
I'd leave it.
That's fine. I'm going to say no as far as
For Van
actual
Poppel as well?
That was a little bit different. So, yeah, the question number 10, the last question we have is, will we see Riley Van Poppel for this game? He has played in 3 games already, so he'll be done for the year if he plays in this game. He played in 9 snaps in the first game, 5 in the second, and 15 in the Rutgers game. So, you guys are all going yes?
No.
Okay.
BJ, are you saying yes on this
I'm
one?
saying yes, yeah.
I got confused with the back and forth
I think
there
we,
after
I think we
talked
need
about
him
it.
we need him as much, if not more, than Malachi.
See, the way that they've played him, he played in the first 2 games and then against Rutgers. I think they have a different sort of game plan for him, and they don't play him in this game. I think what's going to happen to our defense is going to happen regardless of whether or not he's in there.
Oof.
See, I think we need him in this game more than we need Malachi Coleman. Because I think we're going to, we talked about them running the ball all over us
Yeah.
possibly. I think that's a more critical situation than a Malachi Coleman is.
He spells Nash really well.
Again, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to go with yes, just because he's more critical in the position that he plays again than I believe with Malachi Coleman.
Makes sense, but I have to assume that the coaches have a game plan for the redshirted
Absolutely.
guys.
Yeah.
At least I would hope.
Oh, I believe that they do. I trust him in that aspect. I know we've kind of questioned a lot of the coaching staff situation this game,
just
or
this week.
this show.
This was an anomaly week for me.
Yes.
But like I said, that the responses that Marcus Satterfield gave in that press conference, woof. But
Yeah. Well, didn't look good.
for the second week in a row, Nebraska is on the big noon kickoff. Fox's answer College Game Day. Got to listen to Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson rip it up again.
Well, one of those guys is good.
Make basically no sense half the time. It's an 11 a.m. kick out there in Columbus, Ohio. It looks like it's going to be, for the second week in a row, beautiful weather for us. Should be maybe slightly breezy, but 63 degrees at game time. FPI has given us a 3.5% chance of winning this. If you look at that for Ohio State, it's 6-9 backwards.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's
This
actually
line,
569.
this is a crazy one for me because this
That's
line,
a long night.
this line for futures bets preseason
We're on a fun
was
20 minutes.
this line preseason was a plus 23.5 for Nebraska. And at one point, I believe it was right before the Indiana or the Illinois game, it got down to like a plus 11, plus 11.5, something like that. And it has ballooned back up to plus 25.5 that it opened up for this week. And it stayed there. So they're expecting an absolute beatdown for Nebraska a second week in a row. They don't think that the scoring is going to get that high because they put this at 48.5 for the over-under. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a safe bet on the over for sure. And I'm going to take Nebraska plus the 25.5. But I just don't see us having enough to pull this one out. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people are expecting after that beatdown last week, but I don't know that it's going to be less than a 14-point game.
Yeah, I definitely take the over on the points. If Nebraska is able to score, I would take Nebraska. I'm not sure they'll be able to, and so I'm taking OSU at minus 25.5.
I don't even remember what you said as far as the over-under, and I really don't care. The over is, yeah, they're going to score a lot. I'm sorry.
49.5, 48.5.
Sure, cool, yeah. 49.5 just for Ohio State? Yeah, over. No, this game's going to be bad. I'm sorry. This isn't me, like, trying to say Nebraska fucking sucks and we're the worst team ever, like a lot of people said after the Indiana game.
Especially, nobody's talked about the fact they're coming off a fucking bye week after their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you can say that for the handful of next opponents. Everybody comes off a bye week.
Fine.
Going into the Nebraska game.
Not everybody was right up there contending for number 1 in the country and then lost to Oregon.
Here's my one positive thing that I will say about this game. Maybe. Just maybe. You talked about the Damon and Ravi saying something about a sleepy atmosphere for the because it's 11 a.m., which I think is really dumb. But maybe they're looking past us because they have a top 5 matchup next week against Penn State. At Penn State. Maybe they'll come in with a sleepy atmosphere with that aspect. And I don't mean atmosphere as far as the fans. The team might be like,
a little flat.
They got their ass kicked by Indiana. They're coming in with their tail between their legs. They are all feeling sorry for themselves. We can punch them in the mouth. They'll just lay right down just like they did against Indiana. We can move on to Penn State. Maybe. No. Ohio State's going to win this game pretty big.
Better or worse than last week's 56-7?
Very close.
Jesus.
Yeah,
But
I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, I think it'll be better because I think Ohio State is just going to be like, let's just run this fucking clock and get it over with.
There you go. There you have it, folks. It's going to be another rough one for the Nebraska fans this week, but
Or maybe it won't.
we will be here. We love you. We've got some big news coming up here shortly. We'll let you know what that is next week. We do. Deuces.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.